This is One America Network's One America News Network, OANN, doing a report on the debt ceiling stuff. And it says, I mean, we got to love this one. Kevin McCarthy surrenders. Mother told me, yes, she told me I'd meet girls like you. All right. She also told me, stay away, you never know what you'll catch. All right.
Surrenders. The House Speaker bound to Democrat.
Hold on, let me back this up.
Kevin McCarthy surrenders. The House
wait, at least they're not beating around the bush.
Speaker bound to Democrat pressure. Co-released with the Biden White House.
Bound? Bowed? Bowed? Or bound? She said bound, I think. Sexy.
A 2-year deal to raise the debt ceiling limit through the next.
By the way, I appreciate the Radar O'Reilly look-alike that they brought. It's fantastic. The guy over on the right who looks like a dad on a Law and Order episode who's totally not guilty until he is. Good
Election and into January of 2025 with only modest federal spending reforms. How modest, you might ask? Well,
I might, but I'm not going to.
If you ask Texas Congressman Chip Roy, he'll
I wouldn't. Yeah, that literally is not something I would do. But thanks for showing me this.
Tell you that this uncapped debt ceiling is worth approximately $4 trillion, and that there will be a freeze at 2023's bloated spending level, meaning that non-military discretionary spending will remain at post-COVID levels. Congressman Roy also points out.
I swear, later on, I'm going to listen to this alone slower.
That it claws back exactly zero of the $1.2 trillion Inflation Reduction Act's crony giveaways to elite leftists for grid district.
To elite leftists. Well, at least they're not giving it to like the dumpster diving Antifa leftists. You know what I mean? Like they would know what to do with $1.2 trillion. They just buy soup for their family.
Storing unreliable energy, and that 98% of the IRS expansion will be left fully in place. Senator.
Well, not 97.6 though, I think.
Rand Paul of Kentucky says conservatives have been sold out once again.
Excuse me. No. The senator of Kentucky, not from Kentucky. He's a carpetbagger. Excuse me. As someone who's from Kentucky, piss off.
And Utah Senator Mike Lee quipped, with Republicans like these, who needs Democrats?
Thanks, Mike Lee. It couldn't come from a more disgusting fellow.
Despite the pushback, McCarthy's proud of himself, and he says that over 95% of the Republican conference is over.
I have to say, I don't know if it's a combination of the filters that they have on the camera, the uniformity of the makeup, or the shocking red lipstick, but there's almost no features to her face. It just looks like she looks like the corner of an armchair.
Overwhelmingly excited about what they
with glasses on
see. And I guess by that he means BLM supporter Mitt Romney, the other Republican senator from Utah.
BLM supporter Mitt Romney. That's how he's known these days.
Romney hopes that the House and Senate will pass this deal in the coming days. And indeed, the whips from both parties are out there whipping votes as we speak, as a potential vote could come as soon as this Wednesday, seeing as June 5th is said to be the deadline of the nation's borrowing limit. Though I think that that's more fear-mongering from the Treasury Department than anything.
That's because you're stupid and you don't read or give a shit.
To discuss all this and more is independent journalist Jordan Schachtel. Jordan, thanks for being here tonight.
Jordan Schachtel. Okay.
Hey, thanks as always, Kara.
Great. So do you agree with the
Okay, so they're just breezing past some of the consonants in these words. Gotcha.
Chip Roy, Rand Paul, Mike Lee consensus on this that conservatives got sold out?
Conservatives got sold out. They don't have time to say the whole word. You want full whole words? Go watch Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, it's a disaster. I mean, I thought this COVID spending was supposed to be temporary, and now the Republicans have solidified it as the baseline. That's my biggest issue, is that
have solidified it as the baseline. Yeah, that's all government spending is now COVID spending. All COVID spending is government spending. The ABBA line.
All of this supposed emergency funding, whether it was due to inflation or due to COVID, has now been made, we're spending so many trillions of dollars, and now there's, an annual deficit, outrageous annual deficit that is never going to get paid back.
An outrageous deficit that is never going to get paid back. Well, Biden's been bringing it down since Trump. I mean, it was certainly going up every year under Trump.
And now the Republican Party has basically embraced this movement of the goalpost to this very narrow window, and they're happy to operate within the confines of it. And I think,
well, I mean, they're pervy dudes. They like zipper hood, relationships.
in addition to that, the idea that we need to spend more on the Pentagon also is, I think, misguided. That was the one thing that historically Republicans have always supported national defense, which I totally agree with. But the idea that we need to be spending close to $1 trillion now per year on the Pentagon with their, drag queen story hours, like the idea that we need to spend more, this isn't money.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. And by the way, the Pentagon is not doing drag queen story hours. They are being inclusive in who can join the Army, because this is fucking America. And they're trying to let everybody know that not only is the Army fighting for your rights, but you can join and fight for everyone else's rights. They don't even have to like you to still want you to be able to be free and exist and all that kind of stuff. So it's a noxious, disgusting concept to folks like this fellow here. But yeah, that's apparently he wants to pants us in front of the world because he thinks they're too inclusive.
Being spent for our national defense. This is money being spent for these big government projects that are connected to what the Biden administration is doing. So I think across
what the Biden administration is doing, which is what, boxing out China and Russia?
Across the board, there should be no increases whatsoever. And the deal, I think, is a total disaster because it normalizes these insane spending levels.
That it does. And also, as you talked about with
that it does this stuff. Is it just me, or does she talk exactly like Gene the Jesus Machine from Flashpoint? Is that Gene the Jesus Machine in drag?
COVID, Daniel Horowitz from The Blaze, he flags this as well on Twitter from the deal that came out. He says,
oh, The Blaze, the sharpest tools in the shed.
So the only real savings in the bill are from unspent COVID funding. But even that, he says, is kept for the worst elements of the biomedical security state. These three provisions would
the biomedical security state
save money for the vaccines testing and mitigation and the genomic sequencing and surveillance. So all the worst parts, funding, everything still is in place. The one thing with Republicans is when election season comes around, what do they say? Lower taxes, less government spending. But whenever they're in charge, they spend just like Democrats do. But the problem that I really have is
no, that's not fair. They spend way more than Democrats do. Way more. Never mind the fact that Clinton balanced the budget and had a deficit surplus during his time in office. But for the fact that Obama came in 2008, if Gore had won and Bush hadn't fucked the economy with his laissez-faire trickle-down horseshit, the Biden administration would have maintained that fucking surplus the entire fucking time. Never mind the fact that Biden's bringing the deficit down.
If they're going to spend anyways.
And Trump was like a third of our fucking national debt in one single fucking term.
At least fund friends, right? Remember the friend-enemy distinction in politics? They don't even do that. It's always bowing to Democrats, whether it's the biomedical state or anything else.
The biomedical state. We live in the United States of Fauci. We live under the fear of Fauci's ouchie.
Remember with House Speaker, at the time, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi wanting $25 million snuck into COVID funding for the Kennedy Arts Theater. And that's, of course, a lot of that money gets funneled back into other Democrat causes and campaigns.
No, it doesn't. It helped the Kennedy Center, which was shut down during COVID.
But Republicans, we only seem to help Democrats when we do splurge. It's not like we're spending money to help ourselves. We're funding the worst parts of the biomedical security state, the IRS.
They're really hammering that one. This is the first time I've heard that, like, this is now like a tick.
And everything else. Do you think that's one of these major issues as well, that if we're spending all this money, we're not even getting anything good out of it anyway?
Boom. She didn't need to hear your fucking answer, buddy. Her question was an answer. Okay? Okay? You don't know. You don't fucking know. Yeah, so that's fun.